You know the latest trends in copywriting right now in 2024? Let's just touch on one. It's storytelling. And if you don't know what that means, well, let's talk about it. So when you're writing and you want to have a voice and tone to it, we talk about different emotions, right? Different emotional tones. Let's just go over a couple. It's not about the storytelling quite yet. You get a friendly tone, right? Down to earth, little friendly, more professional, right? More emotional. Those are just some simple breakdowns. Well, we also need storytelling. And why that's so important is it brings the audience, the customer, the potential into a world where they picture themselves in the world you're creating with your product or service, right? You want them to picture themselves using that service, what they get out of that service, what their life, how it could change by using that service or product. And you could say a service is a product, whatever. And it's how you tell that story through using your emotional triggers, right? We want to touch on their pain points, which is emotion. 99% of us react to everything through emotion. I mean, we could say that, women are men are more logical, women are more emotional. Well, guess what? Women actually make up most of the buying out there. So guys, if you're a copywriter, don't just write like you're writing to another guy, unless you're writing specifically for men's stuff, right? You got to keep all that in consideration. Well, you have to tell their story. You have to embrace everything about that potential client. You'll always hear these terms. You have to do your research. That's not just finding the specs on a product, right? Or a service, or the features of a service, or the benefits and all that stuff. It's also to embody the actual audience, the actual client, right? The customer. What do they need? What do they want? And you'll find that many people are very simple. You don't have to use over-the-top language. I mean, unless you're talking on a professional basis to, financial people that are like the higher up CEOs, whatever. I find that boring, but sometimes it can pay the bills. But let's get back to products and services. You really want to touch on their pain points and bring them into that world. Show them, don't tell them. Show and tell, right? Showing versus telling. That's a whole nother one. You don't want to just list a bunch of stuff or tell them why through just boring details. You want to show them, walk them through in a storytelling format, technique. And for some people, that's hard. I come from a background of creative writing. I consider myself a creative, so it comes naturally to me. Where I get bogged down sometimes is using overcomplicated words, right? Fluff, as you would call it, or wordy, however you want to say it. You want to keep it short and sweet. How can I say the exact same thing in the least amount of words? If I take out a word or take out a whole sentence or a whole paragraph, does it still work? If it does, then that's what you got to do. And for us writers, for novels, we know it's, killing your babies. It's hard sometimes. But anyway, getting a little off subject. Storytelling, guys. Storytelling, blah, 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 blah. Is a technique you have to master. And also, I would say you should be mastering the technique of almost being able to put yourself in the customer's shoes. One would call that empathy, and that's why you would write as an empathic copywriter or through emotions. But it's not the same emotions you think. A lot of people like to touch on certain emotions, and they're overplayed. I think you got to really envision who the customer is and understand that there are things that go deeper than just superficial emotions. There's deeper emotions, the ones that are deep in the psyche that people don't necessarily talk about, but every single day it's what rules your mind and rules your life. So that's what us as copywriters have to really get into. Got to get deep dive into the psyche. I find that psychology and the mind is an amazing place, and that's another reason I'm a copywriter, and I love it. I love writing. I'm a creative, like I said, and everything I do is through a creative lens. So, like, subscribe, guys, and comment below what you want to hear next.